May the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the life force be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional, and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive. This episode of May the Life Force Be With You is brought to you by Moment Company and the Moment Pebble. The Moment Pebble is a beautiful, natural stone, light-guided breathing device and is a unique gift for someone who needs that gentle reminder to stop and take a break, to take moments throughout their busy day and to practice mindfulness. Just head over to momentcompany.co, that's momentcompany.co, and enter the code LIFEFORCE at checkout to receive an exclusive 10% podcast discount. Hello and welcome. I'm Fiona.
And I'm Kahreela. And this is May the Life Force Be With You.
And so tell me, Kahreela, how's your life force today?
My life force today is good. It is good. It was not so good yesterday. I was very, very, very wobbly yesterday, but I applied everything that I am learning from May the Life Force Be With You. And I am back on my life force track. How about you?
Well, we're going to come back to your wobbly in a minute because that's such a good word, and also, good acknowledgement that it's not a pattern, right? It's just a wobble.
It's
And then you
just a
just
wobble.
you steady the legs of the stool and on you go again, and it doesn't have to knock you off track. I'm good, thank you. I'm getting used to being back in normal, whatever that is, because remember I have an unnormal life. Back home, couple of days now of being back in the UK and just finding my time zone optimal fee working life force, because I'm normally a morning person, but nobody else I work with is awake when I am. So I need to kind of shift my energy, my creative time, and my work from different time zones. So I guess I live a different time space reality to most 9 to 5 UK. I'm living the quantum field. That's what I'm gonna put it down.
Living the quantum field. That's one of the things I find quite lonely about working in Japan. Is it like not all the hours, because I'm obviously speaking to you right now, but a lot of the hours of the day, everyone you know and care about is asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Yeah.
something kind of lonely about do you know what I mean? Like when everybody's on different hours yeah.
Yeah, and that also translates to physical connection as well, right? So I don't work with anybody in the same country. So I have to find my physical connection and energy from others from different sources. It's not from my workplace. So, I went to the gym this morning. I'll go meet people in coffee shops. I'll go to the beach. I'll find it in nature. I'll find it in exercise. I'll find it in other sources to kind of keep that life force topped up in various ways throughout the day, that normal kind of collective working environment. If you're lucky enough to work with other people, you can kind of feed off that. And I know people are going, oh my God, sometimes you just want to be on your own and you don't want to be with other people. But there definitely is some kind of topping up that happens by being around other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually, in Japan, it's become a thing now where people just prefer to do a workshop online. So even though I am in Japan to do workshops, people want to book like a 6-hour workshop online when they could come to it. And like, obviously, if you're in a completely different city and it's hard to get there, then it's a great thing that you can book online. But I've been really trying to encourage people here not to like go that AI. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've been really trying to be like, you don't understand that coming in person. And, the company's like, don't say that
Mm.
because you don't want to put the online people off. But I'm like,
You are physically there, and so to not take advantage of that seems, like a wasted opportunity. It is really interesting, isn't it? How quickly culturally we've changed to living in boxes. And as you say, it is a kind of AI life, isn't it? It's a artificial
I mean, to me, it's
lack of
so,
intelligence,
it's,
emotional
yeah.
intelligence.
And it's just like, if you've got a teacher that you like in your country, in your city, like, why would you book it online and not come in person? Like, and I'm just like, because Japan's a bit connected to the future, I'm like, this cannot be the future.
Mm.
Like, this cannot
That's
be
what I
the
was
future.
thinking, robot Kahreela, Japanese robot Kahreela.
Ah,
What does that look like? And that's what that phrase that resonated. That artificial emotional intelligence. That's the bit I don't think you can make artificial. It comes from a deeply human connection that, yes, you can get a good percentage of it through technology, but when 98% of what we communicate is nonverbal.
and
Can I just say that again?
yeah, say
So
that
only
again.
two, so 98% of how we communicate with each other is nonverbal. So that means there's a bit of it you can still get across when we are speaking on a podcast. You can
Yeah.
hear tone, you can hear accent, intonation, volume, speed. All of these things convey something about someone's emotional state and what they're trying to convey. But there's so much that is then in their body, in their expression, in their eyes, in their smile, in their skin tone, in their physical environment, that if you can't see them, gets lost. It's the second workshop that we teach in our program, the importance of nonverbal comms.
And, a lot of energy can be transmitted along the energy of the internet, for sure. But there's a power in human hearts being together in the room. I've got this whole trip at the moment that, like, true power is flow. And, for flow to happen, you've got to have like more than one person to hold flow.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, to a degree, energy can flow across time and space and in the quantum field, and we should absolutely celebrate the amazing technology that we have that means that can happen. But the technology should be supporting our human connection, not
Mm-hmm.
taking away from it. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, like, if technology is meaning you're not doing something in person when you could, then it's reducing the amount of energy that can flow, not helping it to flow,
Well, surely the experience, I said surely, that's me surmising on what your experience is, but does the energy feel different for you when you're in the room
So
versus online? How does it
um,
impact you showing up as the guide?
basically, I said to there was one workshop this weekend, and I want to talk about the other one actually, but there was
Yes.
one workshop this weekend that everybody was booked online, and it was 6 hours, and I was like, I'm not doing it.
Wow.
I was like, universe, if there are not people in that room, I'm not doing it, because I'm not interested in holding a 6 hour workshop online and being all the way in Tokyo for the privilege. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, no. And I actually didn't, I find that it's harder online. So,
Mm.
so I find it is harder I find I work harder online. And
Mhm.
it's funny because, my parents have a company uh, that does walking tours in London, and they went online in lockdown. And all of the guides said it was harder online than it was in person. And in theory, you're like, well, it's not harder because they're, you're sitting at home with your pajamas
I've
on.
got my
Like,
slippers on right now.
you haven't
Yeah.
had to go out, like all of that kind of thing. But when you think of everything we've talked about on May the Life Force Be With You, about how life force is movement, it's outside, but also it's the participation that we've talked about so much. It's like when you have people in person, there's so much more to bounce off. There's so much more energy to co-create with. Whereas when you're online, you are literally having to work so much harder to get the same thing
Mhm.
across. And so I just put my foot down to the universe and I was like, I will be canceling this if there are not people. And then I was like, give them a discount if they come in person. And my translator was like, this is this is where we've got to the scary point in the future where you are literally making it cheaper to come in person
Mm.
than to come online.
Wow. It's the
Like,
reversal of yeah. Wow. And did you end up doing it? Did people show up?
yes, people showed up. And here's the crazy thing. There was a reason why it was all online because, and I have seen this a million times over with spirit. It's when you work with spirit, this is what happens. So I can't tell you how many times in the early days of Starlight we would book a villa and the villa would say it was for 10 people, but actually one of the rooms wasn't good enough to be a room. And no matter how hard we tried, we could not fill that last place or those last two places. And we'd only be grateful that we couldn't. We actually saw that one of the rooms was like a laundry room. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, you could never have sold it. So you're
Yeah.
like, thank God the universe stopped that from happening. And basically, the universe blocked that Sunday workshop from having many people in person because there was a disaster with the rooms this weekend in Japan. So their company are very busy organizing this big festival that is happening this weekend. And they also have a very corporate mentality, actually, which I'm not so used to working in. I only really get to experience it in Japan. And it's Japanese corporate, which is save as much money as possible, get as much out of this as possible. There's like an extraction mentality that I don't get to experience so much of in my own life normally. And they booked a room for this workshop, that for both the workshops, the Saturday evening workshop and the Sunday workshop. Saturday evening workshop was only 2 hours. This room was firstly in the middle of Shibuya. Like, Shibuya is not a place for a spiritual workshop. Shibuya is where the busiest crossing in the world is. If
It's
you
that
Google
famous
Shibuya,
crossing.
yeah, it's like Leicester Square on acid.
Yeah. It's that piece of Tokyo where you see millions of people moving around and
Yeah.
all the lights and the craziness is there,
So
right?
they booked it there, which is fair enough. But then they obviously hadn't checked out this room, they just booked it. This room was a room inside an office. So it was like a fake room without real walls. It had those like fake walls. And you had to walk through an office to get into it. Like, you had to walk past people at their desks to get into this room. And like, we're in this and it was tiny. Like, it was smaller than the room I'm in right now. It was smaller than the size of a bedroom. And so we're in this tiny room. There isn't a room, and there is so much background noise. Like, Like there is like angry Japanese businessmen shouting. It was like capitalism and patriarchy at full volume all around us. So it's from different businesses.
You're
So like
saying, "Close your
all
eyes, let
four
go."
walls have their own Japanese business patriarchy story blasting through our walls. And like I get in there and I'm just like, I think I'm in shock. My translator, who is the sweetest, kindest, calmest person, I've never seen her lose her shit. She like lost it on them. She was just like, I am not spending 6 hours in here tomorrow. There are no windows. There is no light. There is so much noise. And she's like, what are we meant to do? And like the staff of the company are just like, we don't know. And so like everybody doesn't know what to do. The clients are coming in and I'm just like, what do I do? Like, how do you deal with this? It's so not a spiritual workshop.
Mm-mm.
And then my guys were just like, how many times have you done land work, Kahreela? And I was like, yeah, like land work, when you do ceremony outside, your ceremony regularly gets affected, disrupted, interrupted by everything from tractors to tourists to cows. We had one ceremony where
The
like
weather.
sheep were like bleating around us, the weather, like we've had everything. You know, like when you're outside, there is nothing to do but
Yeah.
just
You're at the
surrender and
mercy of the surroundings.
yeah, and work with it. And so I was like, all right then. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do like I was like, okay, I'm gonna start by talking about land work and be like, this is what happens when you do land work. So let's just land work inside and work with it and use this amazing trigger that is happening on all four sides to work to show us what we need to see. And the crazy thing is this workshop was a golden thread workshop and it was connected to Mount Sinai, which is the throat chakra of the
Mhm.
world. And it was like the description of it was all about like clearing the distortion. And so like the guys were being hilarious. They were like, here is all the distortion on all sides. And I was like, okay, we're gonna I was like, I'm handing over to you. Like there is nothing else to do but surrender, explain land work with what is coming up and channel. And so I channel, and as I opened up to channel, I was just like, guys, please just, if we're gonna land work this, you've got to do the land work magic, because what the guides are amazing at in land work is timing things so perfectly, you know, the one moment that the rainbow appears is the
Mhm.
moment they're talking about the rainbow, like, and I'm just like, you gotta do some magic to save this work. And they did it. So like they're talking for ages about the distortion and everything like that, and then they bring in the meditation for the golden thread, and every single one of those four sides goes quiet.
What?
They silenced the offices of Shibuya in Tokyo in
How is that
time
even possible?
with the golden thread. And what they said, and why I wanted to bring it onto the podcast,
No, but hang on one second. What do you mean they went quiet? And for
they
how
went
long?
quiet. I have
So
anybody that's in the Life Force Cafe. I've got the copy of this, and you can listen to it and you can hear it yourselves in the Life Force
so you're
Cafe.
channeling, which we're gonna share in a
The
future
guides are
episode. We have the
channeling,
class.
and they
Guides are
connect everyone
channeling.
into the golden thread, and the
And then you start
offices,
the meditation and
as
quiet.
everybody connects into the golden thread, the offices go quiet. And the noise came back, but in that moment, the offices went quiet. And the thing is, the recording, you can hear how loud it is because the record, everyone on the online was like, "Who is that Japanese man?" So like the recording was picking up these office workers, and so you could hear it.
Was that moment felt by everybody? Did
Yeah,
everybody?
like
Yeah.
everybody felt it. Energy came in, and the thing is, the golden thread is like, it's your alignment, it's your connection to source. And, the first thing, I think it was the Rainbow Grandmothers that were channeling, they were like, well done, you guys did it. And then they were like explaining that when you're in alignment, when you're in contact with your own inner golden thread, you affect the outer. So your inner affects the outer. They were like, when you're out of alignment, when you're not connected to your golden thread, when you're in your distortion, the outer affects the inner.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole workshop became a demonstration of this.
Mm-hmm.
Became a demonstration of, if you're in alignment, you are the one that affects the outer reality. And if you're out of alignment, then all that's happening is you're being affected by the
Being
outer.
triggered.
Mm-hmm.
No, I deeply feel that. Just briefly, I've got this thing called misophonia, where I have an irrational fear of repetitive noises. I've had it since I've been a kid. Don't breathe anywhere near me. Chewing gum is banned near me. Like it used to distract me and stress me to the point of like explosion. Like it creates a fear and anxiety in me I can't explain. It's called misophonia. Check it out. I'm not crazy. It's an existing thing. Since I started meditating, since I started finding ways in which I can be aligned, ways in which I can go inward and really kind of focus on that, those things still slightly bother me. Like I don't like being in cars with people chewing gum, but it doesn't drive me to the point of like wanting to punch someone in the face. And that is my version of me being able to control my outer circumstance by being more aligned and being able to go inward. And that practice over time has helped me manage my outer world triggers a lot better. So I really felt that when you were explaining that moment, that inner to outer and vice versa, we have the
Yeah.
power to manage that. And then like ticking clocks, sometimes you don't notice it until someone says, "Can you hear that clock?" And then all of a sudden you can't unhear it because you're just tuned in and out to different things. So sorry, I
No,
derailed
definitely
you.
sorry. It's and you know, I agree. It's amazing if you can get your inner connection practice working properly. You can zone anything out, like
Yeah,
anything out. Like
yeah,
it is the years of having to learn how to do that in land work that meant that I could handle that office situation.
exactly.
My translator, who works with a lot of teachers, was like, "You are the only teacher I know that could have
Could have
pulled
managed that
that off."
environment.
And it's not because I'm talented or special. It's just because I've done it so many times in land work. Like I'm so used to the level of inner focus that,
Hmm.
and then and if you can hold it, you can then take everybody else on that
With
journey with
you.
you, and
Yeah.
out of where they are, you can your inner can transport people, you know. But this was like almost a step beyond, because like it was literally affecting the outer noise.
Hmm.
So it
Mm.
wasn't just that we were
Mm.
so deep in it that we weren't hearing
Yeah,
it. That
right.
like the frequency that we were collectively holding was silencing the distortion around us. It was affecting the manifestation of what was around us.
Right. Right. I need
And
some of that power.
that, and like this whole workshop became a lesson in that and in
Mm.
how to use your inner to affect the present moment of your outer. And it was just, one of those things that was like such a burden that became such a blessing.
Okay, so here's a question, Kahreela, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to wonder, what? I, I use my example of you use your mind and your connection to self to be able to quieten the noise outside, but you've not quietened the noise outside. You've quietened your storytelling and narrative about how it's triggering you, which therefore means it does not trigger you. Therefore, it is softer, gentler, quieter. You're talking about that next level, which is, oh no, that noise stopped.
That noise stopped.
How? What made that noise stop?
The golden thread.
How did the golden thread stop that noise?
Because the golden threads, all of this came from Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is where the 10 Commandments were given. The golden thread is your ability, the command of your source self.
And so, because you were collectively,
Calling in the golden thread.
I was going to say paying homage kind of thing to that
Not
thread and
paying
asking
homage,
for its guidance, or
because we were literally vibrating with our own golden threads. We had the power to command what was around us.
wow.
And it did start up again.
Yeah.
But it start, these were not the same office. They were all different offices.
And what is the translation to that for the people that join your workshops and your sessions? What did they take from that moment? What were the reflections?
You know what? Everybody came away, and this is what land work gives you as well. Like, I love land work because that level of magic makes you believe.
Mm.
Like, I like that level of proof. Like, I like that level of proof. That's what takes spirituality out of concept and into something that you can embody and trust.
That brought a big smile to my face, by the way, as you can see, but others won't be able to, is that, you know, that level of magic makes you believe.
Mm.
That's really
Really
nice.
proof. Like, that's the proof of that's
Love
the
it.
proof of the golden thread, that's the like.
Mhm.
And magic is very much in the timing. Yeah. I'm sure there was very good reasons why all the offices stopped making
Magic
noise.
tricks are all about timing. If
All
you
about.
take it back to the basic level of magic, it's all in the timing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's always timing. But the divine timing
Mhm.
is the miracle, and is the miracle of, alignment. And so, the next day, so everybody came away from the workshop so lit up, in the same way that I see people when they land work, like, so with the proof of their own experience. And they wouldn't have done that, I might point out, had we been in a Zen meditation room.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
was all because of the room not being the right room
You
for
kind of had to
meditation.
have that level of
Yeah.
distortion to
Yeah.
feel the impact, otherwise you wouldn't have felt it.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And um the next the next day, some of the people from that workshop booked in person. And obviously, there was no room because we were refusing to use that room for 6 hours. And so we ended up using an even smaller room in the company's office. It was quiet and it was light and it had windows. But like there was no way we could have got in more than the few people that ended up being in person and the people online. Um, but it was quite a hot day in Tokyo that day, and one of the people that was helping set up, was trying to work out whether to open the window or put the air conditioning on. And we're saying, oh, the window's noisier though. And one of the women from the workshop the day before was like, oh yeah, but after yesterday we can do anything. Like, we can meditate our way through anything. And I was like, now that is a gift. Like to have that much confidence in your
Mhm.
own ability to tune in and out of what you want to tune in and out of.
Yeah.
And to me that level of confidence only comes from experiences like that. Doesn't matter
Mm.
how many times somebody says it, it's got to be lived.
It gotta be felt.
It's got to be
So powerful.
seen with your own eyes, heard with your own ears, experienced.
Yeah. Yep.
And so
Which is why coming back to, I don't know if we started here because I don't know how much of the conversation we had before we pressed record, but that is why I would love for our listeners to experience what you do on one of our upcoming episodes so that you can feel it for yourself, because once you have that felt experience, like I've worked with you so many times, Karila, and I remember one in 2020 where I think it was the summer equinox, and my sister and I did it. I had so much energy. I was so charged up with life force at the end of it. And it was 11:30 at night in Scotland, which means it was still daylight, and the birds were all going crazy because they're like, we're supposed to be asleep, but it's still daylight. And I just went outside to like scream my head off because I was so charged up. It's like, where did all this come from? And then there are other times where I've been so relaxed and melancholy, but in a kind of positive way that it just gives you something each time that you can take from it. But something happens. You cannot experience what you do and not feel something. You have a state shift. So I would love to share this with our listeners in some upcoming episodes, because I
I am
think that would
up
be
for
awesome.
bringing the guides onto May the Life
Bring the
Force
guys.
movie. If you are
They've got a lot to
invited,
say.
if you want to come, you are invited. And yeah, I mean, they are blowing my mind a lot in Japan, and so I am excited to see what they
Well,
bring
ask them
onto
when they're
May the Life
free.
Force. Pick them in to
Look
Calendly.
them into the calendar. It's getting busy. We've got lots of guests coming up, so they need to find the space and time that's appropriate. Let's get them booked in, and we'll have a mind blowing, heart blowing session soon.
And I would love you to bring some of your amazing gifts as experiences into this podcast, because it is all about experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's just and diversity of um and variety of ways in which people can feel things. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? When you think about life force, it's about feeling more.
Mm,
Your energy creates the ability to do. And so,
absolutely.
that's whatever means you find that in your life, then keep doing more of it and share it with others. And that, I guess, is the purpose of what we're doing, and the people that we speak to. Everyone is in service that we
Mm,
speak to around their talent, their modality, their gifts that they have. So the more of that we can share and the more it resonates, then hopefully that inspires people to do more themselves.
So you're going to book in for some of your coaching, Fiona magic too?
Sure. Sure. We'll see.
We're
I'll
both
ask
like
my
squirming.
guide.
We're like, ah.
I'll ask my guide. But yeah, well, I hope you have a brilliant rest of your time in Japan. I'm sure you'll be in another country when we catch up again. But thank you for sharing that really powerful moment, and I can't wait to find out next after the festival what happens at the festival.
Thank you for letting me share that story. And yeah, anybody that wants to check out the workshop with Japanese translation and Japanese businessmen, it is going to be available in the Life Force Cafe.
Fantastic, and we'll share those show notes of where people can find out more. But until then, sayonara.
May the Life Force be with you. We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.